welcome to the 4 Bells, and here we are, workout from home number 56. So we are in lockdown 2.0. This is your second workout from lockdown 2.0. And what kind of workout are we looking at today? Today we have a hinging focused day, which means we're going to spend a lot of time looking at the muscles on the back of the body, otherwise known as the posterior chain. So in our warm-up to get us ready for that, we are going to do 3 things. And we're going to do those 3 things 3 times. So I'm going to start with walking lunges for 10 reps. The idea behind the walking lunge, not only trying to get the quads warmed up, which we're going to need, but also to try and get the hips nice and mobilized before we head into our strength piece. From there, we're going to do the inchworm to push-up. The push-up, not necessarily the focus, but the inchworm is, can I spend a little bit of time getting those hamstrings a little bit more flexible that we're going to need in our strength piece too. From there, last but not least, some glute activation in the form of some single leg glute bridging. We are going to do 10 reps of a walking lunge, 5 inchworms to push-ups. From there, some single leg glute bridges, 5 reps per leg. We're doing those 3 times. So let's take a little bit of time talking about how those movements should look. With the exercises that we're using for the warm-up today, we're trying to mobilize the hips, we're trying to lengthen the hamstrings, and we're trying to get a little bit of glute activation involved as well. So when we're looking at those 3 exercises, how should they be performed? So with the walking lunge, the first issue, particularly if you're working out in a small space, is how do I do walking lunges if I don't have any space? The answer is don't. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if we can, ideally we're going to create a little bit of distance. So if you've got a nice sized room, or you've got a very long basement, whatever you happen to have available to you, we're going to try and do some walking lunges. So that means when I'm doing my walking lunges, ideally, when I'm lunging, feet should be on train tracks, never on the tightrope. I'm going to take a big step out, trying to keep the torso as upright as possible. I'm going to do a nice walking lunge, and then from there, if I get to the end of my room, just turn around and go back the way I came. Keeping the chest up, getting a nice stretch through that trailing hip flexor as much as I can. We're going to do 10 walking lunges. From there, we're going to do an inchworm to push-up. So with the inchworm to push-up, what I'm really trying to focus on is hamstring flexibility, and the push-up is the afterthought. So if you know push-ups are not a strong suit for you, you can try it. If you don't want to do a push-up, don't worry about it. With my inchworm to push-up, I'm going to set up, I'm going to walk out, I perform my push-up, and then when I do my inchworm, what I'm trying to do is keep my legs as straight as possible, and I'm really trying to stretch out my hamstrings as much as I can. I walk the hands out, perform my push-up, and then from there, really trying to stretch out those hamstrings as much as possible. From there, when it comes to single leg glute bridging, you can use your mat. And all I'm looking to do is get into glute activation. So that means from here, I'm going to have one leg pointing up to the ceiling. With this leg, I'm going to drive my hip up to the ceiling, squeeze my glute as hard as I can, come down and relax, drive that leg up, squeeze the glute on that side, and play around with the foot position. What foot position means I can get the most glute activation. So, walking lunges for 10 reps, 5 per leg. We're doing some inchworms for 5 reps. If the push-up doesn't work, don't worry about it. And we're going to do some glute bridges for 5 reps per side. We're doing those 3 things 3 times in the warm-up today. The strength piece is glutes. All glutes, all the time, with the side of hamstring. We are going to do 5 sets today. Each set is 3 minutes long, split into 2 90-second windows of time. So when I'm looking at my 90-second windows of time, I have some work to do. So in window number 1, we are spending a minute of our 90 seconds doing some hip thrusts. I'm going to do a single leg hip thrust on one leg. I'm going to do a single leg hip thrust on my other leg. So we're going to talk about how to set up for the hip thrusters, of course, before we start today. But what I need to think of is if I can work it out pretty quickly, is which leg is the weaker side, or as we like to call it here, the 4 Bells, our second strongest side, and we should be addressing that side first. So for example, if your right side is your weaker side, you should be doing that guy first, and then the stronger guy. When it comes to unilateral or single limb or single side imbalance, we're always trying to make the weaker guy catch up first. Once our first 90 seconds are done, we then come into our second 90 seconds, which is going to be Romanian deadlifts, which we are doing for 45 seconds straight. So there's a lot of time under tension work here, which means really depending on what tools you have available to you, do you have a barbell, do you have dumbbells, we're really trying to spend as much time as possible as we can trying to stress those muscles, particularly if you're at home with very limited resources. So let's take a little bit of time talking about setup for the hip thrust, or the single leg hip thrust, and of course options available to you in the Romanian deadlift. The hip thrust is arguably the most infamous exercise amongst Instagram influencers. People love the hip thrust. And most is because of its ability to isolate the glutes, but you have to do it correctly. The thing to remember is because we're at home, there's ideal situations and there's a situation we have to deal with. So that means that if I'm training at home, ideally, in an ideal hip thrust world, the bench that I sit on when I sit on it should be approximately just below my shoulder blades when I'm leaning up against it. So this is great for me. It's why I use this little box with a pad over the top. If I was using like a conventional bench to bench press off of, that would probably be too high. But luckily, because we're at home, don't worry about it too much, which means if you're using the edge of your couch, using a bench, a chair, whatever it happens to be, just make sure you've got some padding behind you so it's not going to stab you in the shoulder blades. From there, I'm starting my hip thrust. I actually like to start with 2 legs, even though we're doing a single leg position. So that means I'm going to bring my legs into about 90 degrees, and I'm going to drive the hips up. So I'm going to look forwards. From here, I'm going to squeeze the glutes, and I'm trying to focus on the glutes and not the quads doing the work. From there, I'm just going to stick one leg up in the air. I'm going to bring the hip all the way down, drive the hip up, squeeze the glute. Bring the hip down and squeeze the glute. Of course, after 30 seconds, I just replace the leg, bring that guy up, bring the hip down, and then drive up. That's all we're looking to do. So I'm going to spend 30 seconds on my weaker side, 30 seconds on my stronger side. We'll be doing those for those 5 sets. If body weight is super easy for you, feel free to add some weight onto your lap, but it's going to be difficult when closing that hip. That's why the barbell is so popular. So if you've got a dumbbell, feel free to use it, but don't crush yourself in the tender zone. When it comes to Romanian deadlifts today, we are looking to move for 45 seconds. So it really means we get to play around with what weights and loads and tools and fun things we have lying around to help us. So that means with the Romanian deadlift, what can I use? I could use a barbell, I could use some dumbbells, I could use a slam ball, I could use a friendly cat. Whatever I want to use, grab it, and we're going to look at loading the posterior chain for 45 seconds. So as we kind of talked about when doing Romanian deadlifts or any kind of time under tension movement, and particularly during working out at home, is how do I make light objects appear to be heavy? And the biggest way to do that is time under tension. So the simplest way to describe that is slow down your reps, which means slow down the lowering phase, slow down the lifting phase. So just trying to get more tension through that muscle as we use it. And if I'm doing it with a barbell today, if you're lucky enough to have a barbell at home, or a sweet squat rack, or any kind of lovely setup with a barbell, what I'm going to do is make sure that when I get into my Romanian deadlift, that I'm in a hinging position. So different to a conventional deadlift. In a conventional deadlift, I would push the hips back, and then I would bring the hips down. In a Romanian deadlift, more of a true hinge. So I'm just going to push the hips back, big stretch through the hamstring, soft bend in the knee. I'm going to try and bring my torso parallel to the floor, and then I drive the hips forwards. I push the hips back, stretch, stretch, stretch the hamstring, and drive those hips forward. So I could use a barbell for 45 seconds. I could do that and hold on to my infant child and do Romanian deadlifts with that guy. I could hold on to 2 dumbbells and do some Romanian deadlifts with my dumbbells. Whichever tools you have available, you can slow them down, you can speed them up, but try and make it as challenging as possible for you. Romanian deadlifts. With the conditioning piece today, 2 short, sharp, snappy pieces. We're going to have 2 5-minute AMRAPs with a 2-minute break in between. All the movements we have today are fairly simple. The rep range is pretty low, but it does mean that we need to move with purpose. And because of that very short window of time, combined with the very short rep scheme, it really means no reason to stop. We're trying to get as much work done as possible in those 2 5-minute AMRAPs. So if we talk about our first one we do today, we're going to do squat jumps. So for a lot of people, when it comes to jumping, the jumping is not the issue, it's the landing. Can I land in a good position? Does it make my joints feel okay? So we're going to talk about how to address that. From there, the ball slam. If you don't have a ball slam, or a ball to slam, which is a better phrase to put it, is what else can I do instead? So we'll talk about some options for you. Either way, 10 jumping squats, 10 ball slams, I go back and forth for 5 minutes and get out of my aggressive stance. From there, I take a 2-minute rest and come into my second 5-minute AMRAP today, which is 10 jumping lunges. Again, we're going to talk about the benefits and downfalls, sometimes of jumping lunges and jumping in general. And we're going to do 5 reps per leg alternating, so 10 reps total. From there, we're going to do one of my favorite ab exercises. It's the hybrid cousin of the Russian twist and a sit-up. It's called the Russian triangle. So let's talk about how both of these 5-minute AMRAPs should look and some alternatives in case you can't do some of those things. So with AMRAP number 1, we're going back and forth between 10 jumping squats and 10 ball slams. So an explosive hip extension with an explosive piece of hip flexion. So when it comes to jumping squats, first of all, can I land without hurting all my joints? So ideally, the key is in the word jump. Can I jump and can I squat? I can squat fully, jump up nice and high, and then can I absorb that force and land without everything going weird and that happening? So if you find that the landing part is very uncomfortable for you, hurts your joints, make that deceleration, that slowing yourself down against gravity and the forces of your body is not nice, then just a simple body weight squat works very well too. From there, once I've done my jumping squats, all my body weight squats for 10 reps, I then come into a ball slam. So with the ball slam, I'm going to start with the arms and hips open. I close the shoulders, close the hips on the way down. Should be a nice, aggressive slam. The question I get from a lot of people is, what do I do if I don't have a ball to slam? So the easy alternative, it's kind of hard to replicate that slamming motion. I mean, there's other things you can use. There's things like tornado balls. There's like a sledgehammer into a tire. But if you don't have a ball to slam, chances of you having a tire and a sledgehammer is pretty small too. So another idea for explosive hip flexion is a lovely exercise we do here at the 4 Bells called the shin grabber sit-up. With the shin grabber sit-up, I lay down, hands overhead, heels on the floor, almost like holding a slam ball overhead. I explode up, grab the shins, and I'm pulling the foot in, slamming the foot down, and grabbing those shins, pulling myself together. I come apart, and we can do 10 shin grabber sit-ups instead. So the first 5-minute AMRAP is going to be 10 jumping squats or bodyweight squats. From there, 10 ball slams if you've got them, or 10 shin grabber sit-ups. We're going back and forth for 5 minutes, and then we can take a 2-minute break. With AMRAP number 2, we've got 10 jumping lunges, so 5 per leg, alternating back and forth. But of course, is jumping good for me? Does my joints hurt, or do I prefer to do a reverse lunge instead? So if I can do a jumping lunge, as always, feet should be on train tracks, not on a tightrope, and I'm going to start with the knee touching the floor. From here, I jump up, it should be both legs straight. I'm not down here, keeping my jumping lunges very small and low. I keep the chest high, I jump up nice and tall, switch, and decelerate, gently kissing the knee to the floor each time. If that doesn't work for you, reverse lunges in place, they work very well too. From there, once I've done my jumping lunges, we're into Russian triangle territory. Now the Russian triangle is like a Russian twist. Remember we did that in the previous workout? Combined with the sit-up, also in the previous workout, it's almost like we're trying to build on something that we've done. With the Russian triangle, I need 3 points. 1, 2, and 3 behind me. So I don't need a super heavy weight to do this, so I'm going to use my slam ball, and all I'm going to do is sit back, touch one point of my triangle. As I sit up, I rotate, touch another point, touch the other point. That's 1 rep. And then I change the direction I sit up in. I rotate to the left, right, rotate to the right, and then left. And that's how we're going to do our Russian triangles today. So we've got 2 5-minute AMRAPs. In the first one, 10 jumping squats. Here's 10 jumping squats, followed by 10 ball slams or shin grabbers. Back and forth for 5 minutes, 2-minute break, and then our last 5-minute AMRAP is 10 jumping lunges or reverse lunges, followed by 10 Russian triangles. Enjoy, let us know how you feel about your workouts, and if you need any support at all, put it in the comments below, or if you're in the gym, send us a message on Slack. Have fun.